So let's narrow it down to something which we can relate here at this point of time, which is to talk about inclusive classroom. And this inclusive classroom here, we are talking about, students' background, even their level of education, proficiency as well, language proficiency, and also their learning styles and all those. So there are a lot of things that we need to cover in this entire platform, and that within very short time. So how we're going to look at inclusive here in this manner. So in here, I want to take you to the next step, which is the face-to-face learning, blended learning approach, and 100% online learning. I think these are the terms that we need to be very familiarized with, because right now, I know face-to-face may not be 100%. Maybe some schools or institutions, they have already moved on with face-to-face. And then here we will move on to something we call blended learning approach, or we call them the hybrid. So in this case, Farhana and I will probably want to share with you more on how we actually turn our lesson into 100% online. Because initially, let's say when you have face-to-face class, sometimes you have 70% or 60%. I think it depends on the context of your institution and the direction of the university or even college or school. So for 30% has to be some sort of online learning. But here again, we would like to share with you more on 100% online. How do we get our students to be more engaging, and how we want them to be more supportive, and especially when it comes to scaffolding and so on. And we move a little bit down where we talk about technology enhanced learning, TEL. Well, if you talk about definition, it's more of how you apply the application of TEL in your lesson. So that's why this whole workshop is about how we adopt TEL in a form of push change, so that we have to be more inclusive in teaching and learning. All right, Farhana, can I go to the next slide, please? All right, I know there are many other tools out there, and I know most of us are familiar with some of these. So I only can talk about something which we think is probably common to everybody. And for Sunway University, we are more into our e-learn, that's our Blackboard. And of course, we have highly using this Microsoft 365. And then part of 365, that would be the Microsoft Teams, because we feel Microsoft Teams is a very similar layout to Facebook and so on. If those of you have heard of Edmodo, that is also something that we could relate to. And some of us are using Padlet, Kahoot, Zoom, and so on. So the list will go on and on. The question here is, how are we going to adopt the TEL in our classroom? Especially, you have to consider your students, their age, where they come from, and so on. A lot of factors involved, so you need to consider that. And of course, Google Classroom is commonly used in schools because this is an easy platform and students can relate to it. So can I go to the next slide, please? Now, we have actually come up with a simple list, a compilation of all the common TEL tools that we have or we have used before, or we have heard of it. So this list will be given to you at the end of the workshop. So this is just to show you that how can TEL be adopted in our lessons? And of course, we have to think of assessment, right? As we know, formative and summative assessment are the two main things that we look into it. So for us, today's workshop, we're going to focus solely on formative, because formative assessment is something that is not graded. When it's not graded, typically students will say, oh, it's not graded. Okay, miss, is it necessary to do this task? Will it involve grades and so on? So again, it comes back to our instructions, to what extent that we want students to be very inclusive in this manner. So if you look at it, we have given or we have listed down the main functions for each of the TEL2 that we have listed here. So again, it comes back to you. What do you really want? What sort of platform that you want your students to get involved? Again, it's also very important. When you introduce a particular TEL tool, it is important to tell your students how to use it. So for us, Farhan and I, we actually came up with a short video just to brief them how to transit from our e-learn, the Sunway University official Blackboard learning platform, to Microsoft Teams. So we kind of bridge that gap so that they know what they're doing. I think for Google Classroom, it's pretty straightforward. And Microsoft Teams is the one that we would like to show you how we actually try to adopt this in our lesson. May I have the next slide, please? Okay, before we share our case study later on, I think we can come to these three main factors. Firstly, students or accessibility to learners. I know it is not easy. I would say it's challenging for us to get students to be, accessible to even our online learning lesson. So this is one thing you need to consider. And then, of course, internet bandwidth. This is our main issue, is ongoing issue, and this is something that we cannot control. And of course, to say an ideal internet bandwidth that would be 1.5 megabytes. That is like, is pretty strong, and you need to have a very good internet connection, even in order to run MS Teams, Zoom, and other platforms as well. And last but not least, this is the question here, and the point I would like to highlight is that the effectiveness and usefulness of the TL. So Farhana and I, we have come we have gone through a few platforms, and we thought that MS Teams would be just nice for us because Sunway University has purchased this license for us, and students have the iMail account, which is their student email address, and it ties in perfectly to MS Teams. So the transition is very smooth for that particular manner. So that's why I say it has to be effective, and how useful it is, then we will share with you more in the case study, right? And like I mentioned earlier on, we are going to look at something what we call formative assessment, and that's where we try to show it to you how we try to make it more inclusive. All right, may I have the next slide, please? Okay, and this part, Farhana will be talking a little bit more because she's going to talk about inclusive classroom, how we're going to focus on two groups, the fast learners and also the slow learners, because these two, we always have these problems even now. So how are we going to close the gap? How are we going to make students to be more engaging, and they'll be more committed and proactive, so that we know, hey, are you learning? Are you getting the right concept? So this is one thing that, like what Dr. Jacobs mentioned earlier on, we're not able to ensure it, but at least we try our best to support them remotely, as it is right now. The pandemic is, ongoing for us. So in this case, I'll pass this microphone back to Farhana. Farhana, this is yours.
All right, thank you, Persis. Hi, everyone. My name is Farhana. So I just want to recap a little bit of what Persis mentioned just now, especially this part here, the effectiveness and usefulness of TL in supporting learning. So the key thing is when you are choosing your platform, you want to make sure that you can put in as many things as possible within that platform instead of using multiple platforms and students get confused. So that's why our case study today is going to be focusing on MS Teams. Okay, so why do we call it a case study? It's sort of sharing what Persis and I did throughout our semester during the March intake, which was fully online. But when I say whatever I'm showing here doesn't mean that it's limited to a fully online. You can also do this because I know most of you have already gone back to school or have already conducted face-to-face sessions. So this is sort of, you can also adapt it there, okay? So what we're going to show you today is a sample lesson plan for communication skills, which is a 3 credit hour subject. And for this 3 credit hour, we have 1 hour lecture and 2 hours tutorial. So for our classes, our lecture is on a Monday morning, which is 8 to 9 a.m. And 8 to 9 a.m. is not a good hour for students most of the time because it's Monday, Monday blues come in and all that. So how do we want them to get or be engaged with the information? So what we did was we did pre-recorded sessions, which I'll show you in a bit. And like our tutorials were on Wednesday, which is 1 to 3 p.m. So I'm going to show you later what we did to sort of get them to be engaged in our materials. Yeah. Okay, so why did we do this? Why the method that we're showing you, why we did it is because we want students to be inclusive, because we're talking about, like what Persis said just now, diversity. We also have, their background, their learning styles. We have visual learners and all that. So how are we going to, like Dr. Jacobs' session just now, someone gave a comment and said that learning online is great for visual learners. because they like to watch the videos, but it's not necessarily true. It could also be for auditory learners and also kinesthetic learners, depending on how we arrange our lessons. Okay, so the chosen platform that we have here is MS Teams, and how is it executed? We use the mixed method because we don't want, when we're talking about inclusivity, we do not want students to feel alone, and we want to ensure that everyone is learning and learning is taking place. So what we did was we have asynchronous. Asynchronous is where we pre-record our videos and we let them watch it. Okay, and then we will sort of discuss the videos. And then we have synchronous, which is a live session. So throughout that week, we try to include both sessions, like I mentioned just now. Okay, so the type of assessment we are doing is formative, and because formative, we sort of want to know whether learning is taking place or not within the content that we are teaching that week. So what are the challenges that we faced for Persis and I was that, like Persis said, formative is not, you don't get marks for it. So what's the motivation for them to want to do it? So ensuring learning really did take place is a challenge, and getting students to complete these activities. But we don't really put pressure on it. If they feel they are weak, they do it themselves, and we don't have to force them. So another challenge is time. Formative assessments for us teachers, we have a lot of marking to do. On top of formative, we have our graded summative assessments that we need to mark, and the number of students. If you get 100 students and 100 students do it, it's going to be a bit difficult for you. But it's not just essays. You can also do multiple choice questions. There are multiple ways that we do this. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, we have a sample. We create a lesson plan. So what I do is I create lesson plans weekly. So if I want them to watch a video, I always assign it to them a week before, whatever I do. So my lesson plan, I always tell them what I'm going to be doing the week after, so they know what to expect. So what I do first is I create a lesson plan. So this is for my lecture, my 1 hour lecture. So the concept that I wanted them to teach that week was listening. So it's important for me to release it on Friday. Why is it really important that you tell your students to or you're telling your lesson plan to students earlier? Let's say it doesn't have to be a week, it could be 2-3 days before, because you want inclusivity. You want them to feel, okay, she cares about me, I'm a bit slow, so maybe she wants me to start earlier. So that is my main aim. I want students to, because my lecture was on a Monday, right? So I release it on a Friday so that they have the weekend. If they're bored, MCO, they didn't have anything to do, then they can actually look at the video slowly. And it takes time for them to digest the information. So I release it to them on Friday so that we give them time. We can't actually say, okay, Monday morning is my lecture, 8 to 9. I'm going to give it to you at 7:45. You watch it for 15 minutes. And that wouldn't be fair because it's not giving them time to digest the information, right? So we release it early. This is to include them in our lessons, the slow learners and also fast learners, okay? So I obviously tell them my learning outcomes. This is what they should get out of the lesson. And then I will have a formative assessment just to see whether they understand or not the video and the lesson. So this is what I will show them. I'll show you another sample later. I tell them, okay, brief instructional steps. Step 1, watch listening video. And I tell them roughly around how many minutes the video is. And then I tell them step by step, complete activity on MS Team assignments. When will it be uploaded? So if you can see here, I uploaded it on Saturday. Doesn't mean that I'm asking them to do it then. I just upload it so that I'm giving a chance to these fast learners. If they want to do it earlier, they can do it early and get it done and over with. So we're giving time for these slow learners and also fast learners for them to take their time to do the task. So this is including them in your activity. So then I give them a due date. If you notice, my class is 8 to 9. I allow them to submit it by 12 p.m. on that day, Monday, after the lecture, just to give them more time to digest the information. So I don't have a live session for my 1 hour. I give them a video and an activity, and then the feedback will be also given back to them via Microsoft Teams. So this is for my asynchronous lesson, yeah? Okay, now I'm gonna move on to my tutorial, which I did a mixed method. So the concept is within the same week, they've already watched the listening video. Now I'm gonna show them, I want to also include a conflict management concept that they should learn that week. So it's 2 hours. I want them to watch the video first, and then in class, it gives me more time to do activities with them in class. So they know this activity, they know the plan already, so they should be prepared. So all these videos will be given to them a week before, right? Conflict management and all that. And then for the activity, for the live session, before they cut, so they know what's going to happen in my live session, so they will be prepared. And this gives the fast and slow learners time to, from Friday up until Tuesday, to go through my lessons and take down notes or whatever. And then they will know that in my lesson, I will recap listening and also give them an error analysis, sort of, you know, the listening task I mentioned just now. I will take good samples and show it to them in class so that, you know, they can learn from their friends. What I will show, okay, this isn't a good one, how can we make it better? So we discuss it. So they know that they're not just doing the activity just for fun, I mean, just for the sake of Miss Farhana wants it, but they know that they are learning from each other and they will try their best. And then I tell them, okay, so conflict management, I ask them, I recap and I randomly choose students. And then I do the application process of live class breakout rooms. I break them up into groups and I get them to do a task. Let's say if I have 4 or 5 concepts under conflict management, maybe I only have time to do 3 concepts in class, and then I get them to discuss, and then we have a reflection. And then at the end of the session, I want to know, did they really learn throughout this session? So fast learners, yes, maybe they did learn, but how about these slow ones who are so afraid to come to you, who are so afraid to ask you questions, and they're just like, okay, everybody understand, okay, I understand too, miss, I understand. So I have a lot of that. But when they actually do the exit card, or what I call, you know, when we leave something, I want to test their understanding, they don't really understand it. So this part here is really important, where we get them to do an activity and we understand what they are, whether they understand or not, and we can help them there. We scaffold them, like what Persis said. We try to scaffold. If they don't understand this, we give them feedback. They retry the question again. So this is important. And then the feedback, how do I give it back? If it's a group activity, I make sure I give oral feedback to them. And if it's the exit card, I use Microsoft Forms. I always use Microsoft Forms so they can do it individually, because this was already a group task. So now they try individually. Let's say out of the 3, 4 concepts, 3 I manage in class, 1 I manage under exit card, just to see if they understood or not. So then I give them an exit card feedback. And then I'm going to show you how I gave them my lesson plan for weekly lesson plan. So this is a MS Teams. This is an MS Teams platform. Okay, so we have these channels here, and I arrange it according to week. So week 4, this is a week 4 lesson plan, which I gave in week 3 Friday. So I tell them this week, Monday, no live session. Wednesday, we will have a live tutorial. And then I tell them where they can look for the videos. And then I should say watch intro to assignment 2. And then I tell them you have to guide them. Guiding them is really important. You can't just say, okay, do the activity. Then they will text you. They keep on emailing you. Where, miss, where? So you have to know, you have to sort of list it down. So this is a sample that I gave them. I tell them total lecture time, and then where to find information, watch sample videos, and also before tutorial, the video that they should watch, and my plan for the week. So this is a sample, yeah? So you can also do this for your students if you're doing face-to-face and or a hybrid method. You're seeing them every day in school. You can sort of do this. Let's say you want them to understand a concept, you give them a video, and then in class you apply it, which we know as the flipped classroom as well. So you can also apply it so that your students, especially in like Google Classroom if you use, they know what to expect and they are not left out. Because I got feedback from my students and they said that, Miss, it's really good that you put this in, because I really know what to expect. And I know that, okay, I have to do this. After this, I have to do that. And it really helps my slow learners who are struggling in class. Okay. All right, moving on. Okay, so these are sample formative assessments, the exit cards that I give on Microsoft Forms. You can also use Google, is it called Google Forms? Yeah, Google Forms, whatever method you have, or Padlet. It depends on how you want to do it. But because I want everything to be on MS Teams and I don't want them to go anywhere else, I do everything on Microsoft Forms, because Microsoft Forms is buddy-buddy with MS Teams. Okay, so I put this in listening task, and then I tell them these are the questions, sort of identify the communication problem and elaborate using cheapo. And this is one of the learning outcomes. So I want to see whether they really understood how to do cheapo under the listening concept. So, and this is another one, conflict management. Similar, I only managed to do 2 concepts in class, then I asked them to do another 2 more individually just to see their understanding, because that was in a group. And you know, when you do group discussions, one person will obviously be very quiet. So this is a platform for you to understand your slow learners, whether they know or not what they've learned in class. I hope I'm not going too fast. If I am, just let me know in the chat box, yeah? Okay, so then I give them sample feedbacks. If you can see in the box here, these are sample feedbacks that you can give back, which you answer from this answer, you only have CEPO when it should be CEEPO. So these are some samples of feedbacks. And for here, if you notice in the, I tell them sort of marks of where they stand if they were to give this kind of answer. And here, what's really important is you want to sort of get them to, you don't want to give them answers to their activity, because then they won't learn. So we ask them questions again, like, you don't really show the proper way of dealing with this. How could he have confronted her? Or what would happen if they went through assertion? What's the outcome? So you're getting them to think. And this allows them to try again until they get it. All right, so that was my sharing session on what we did to include these fast learners, slow learners, so that they are inclusive and that we ensure that learning really takes place using these platforms. Over to you, Persis.
Thank you, Farhana. Thank you. That was very detailed that you went through everything. That's good. So I think for now, this particular session here is that Farhana and I would love everyone here to just give it a try, because here in this session, you'll be given out a simple worksheet just to plan out your respective online lesson. You can even use the one that you have done before, just to see, to find, is there like gap in between, or maybe you want to add on to something. So instructions are indicated in the worksheet. We're going to share with you later on. For this part, I think you can do it individually. Maybe you take about 8 minutes. Although here says 10 minutes, so it depends. I think we're ahead of time, so maybe 10 minutes. Once we are done, then we don't mind, and in fact, we would love to hear from you what you have actually shared or you plan for your class. So can we show them the worksheet first?
Sure. I will be putting the worksheet onto the chat.
Okay.
And you guys can try it out there.
Yeah. We will attach the worksheet.
It's actually the same worksheet that was given through email, if you have that. Yes. Yeah. Hold on. Something's wrong with mine. Okay, got it. It's uploading. It's in the chat box, yeah, the worksheet. Okay, it's sending.
Yeah, it's a bit slow.
Sorry.
The internet connection is a bit slow.
Okay. There. You can download it. It's best to download it and not work on it there immediately, because if you work on it, then everyone will be working on it. So whatever I posted on the chat, you click the 3 dots and download it onto your laptop, and you work on it there. And if you would love to share later on, you can share your screen from there. Yeah.
Farhana, maybe you can share your screen, the sample of worksheet here, so that they get just an example.
So this is what this one, right? Oh, sorry. I'll share the worksheet. This is it. Can you see my Microsoft Word?
Yes, but can you enlarge it?
Yeah, sure. So basically what we want you to do is sort of try to think of a lesson plan that you have in mind, that you think you can do these dual methods, and what you can do to give brief instructions to your students.
Oh, Farhana, they said they can't download.
Yeah. You from the email?
I think from the chat.
I was able to open it. And then I click open in desktop app to open it in my Microsoft Word software, and I have to save a copy to save it on my laptop. Otherwise, as you said, it's on OneDrive, like on the cloud, so everybody will be working on the same document.
Yeah, so if you click on the 3 dots here, can you see my Microsoft team here? Yeah, if you see here, try not to open in browser or open in desktop. Instead, go to download. Then you would download to your PC. Then you work on it from that file. Because like what Irene said just now, if you open it in desktop app, it's similar. It's like a collaborative thing where everybody will work on it together. But if you can check your email, it's the same one that is in the email. Oh, cannot download by clicking download. Oh, I'm not too sure why. Huilin, do you have the email that was sent by Naomi? Maybe you can try that one.
Yeah, Anna, I'll try.
Okay, all right. Do you have any questions? Well, all the best, teachers. My sample, sure. Let me just open my.
Farhana and Persis, I have a question.
Yes.
When the instructions that you showed students on MS Teams, as you said, Farhana, were very detailed. And it's clear to the students, but at the same time, there are a lot of things for the students to read. So that means that if a student doesn't like to read, or sort of like, sometimes they glance at it, but they don't take in details, then that would be a problem.
I think I can answer. Farhana, you want to answer this?
Go ahead.
Okay, I think it depends on your group of students. Like for this case, for this particular topic, like listening and conflict management, these are all, I think they were all done in some sort of like week 5, 6, and so on. So if let's say we have students who don't really read much, I think what you can do is you can simplify it according to your students, your group of students. Like for us, our group of students, they're able to follow even like this kind of step, because we try to make it as simple as we can, just to give them, instructional skills like, okay, step 1, what you're going to do here, step 2. So it's to show them how we want them to go and then to achieve the intended learning outcome. Did I answer your question, Irene?
Let me just add on to that. Yeah, Irene. What I did was, because that was already the one that I showed here was already week 4. So the more we do is repetition. They know that, okay, they know that in my first part, before I get into my tables here, they know that up here will be my love letter to them. Like I tell them what we did before and what they should be doing. So they know that, okay, if it's important information, I will normally bold it, and I will normally highlight it. So this is why I use colors on my posts, so that they know what they should be aware of. So if let's say they're not visual learners, they don't like to read, then they can straight away go to the tables and they know what they should be doing. That's about it. So if you notice in my table, it's pretty short and simple, and I highlight what's necessary, bold whatever is necessary, and they know that, so they straight away go into that instead of reading. And I know I don't have students who read my love notes on top, but I just love giving it, just so that it was fully online. I don't want them to feel left out, so I put in my love letters there. I hope that answers your question.
Maybe to add on, because I understand what Irene is trying to ask. Even the other class that I had recently, what I did was I actually recorded it. Let's say if I don't want to put it in steps like that, so I had a short video on how to go about the exercise and what to do and what the next steps are, and so on. So I think it depends on which mode that you want to. Either you want to spell out like this, or you just want to record it. Because I also had recorded videos on really how to go about certain worksheets, and like for example how to teach students APA referencing skills. So that I have to personally just write the step, record my steps, show them this is the page and this is where you should go. So I did that for another subject. So if you think of your students who don't really want to read that much, or too much to digest, maybe a short video, maybe about 2-3 minutes video, that will do. That worked for me now. So just to share with you, Irene.
Oh, thank you very much, Persis and Farhana.
Okay, welcome.
So Persis, around how many more minutes left?
Three minutes.
All right.
I think we have 1 minute. Sorry, running out of time, but once time is up, we will let you know in a short while.
Persis, so to clarify, right, step 1 to 3 is actually for ourselves, like our own planning and to know what we're doing. And then steps 4 to 7 is how we want to what we want to tell the students and how we want to deploy. Is that right?
Yes, yes. In fact, for steps 4 to 7, it's also not just to deploy, but it's also for you to know the flow so that the students can understand what you want them to do. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, welcome.
Sorry, but just want to reconfirm this lesson plan, this online lesson plan is actually given to the students also?
No, this is for you. This is only for
I
you
see.
because you're planning on your own. And this is like a
Uh-huh.
checklist for you because sometimes it's easy for you to see the flow. So when it comes to steps 4 and 7, especially the one that Farhana just showed you earlier on, like step 1 on MS Team, step 1, step 2, those are the ones that you can actually share with your students. But for step 1 to 3, you can't. Sorry, Hannah, can you show that screen so that Miss Tay, right? Miss Tay
Yes.
able to see, yeah. So we only tell them the step 1 and 2. Only this part. The one that you're having right now is just for your own planning.
I see.
Mm.
Is this feasible for secondary students?
Yes, you can customize it according to your secondary students and the context that you're having for your students as well. This is a very general template. It is not meant for higher education. It can be used across all levels.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
In fact, for secondary schools, I think the students, because they're more, they can understand, and it gives them, you know, because they will always say if it's online, they'll say, how long do we have to go online and what do we have to do? So if you do it in this method, I feel that they will know what to expect, and they say, okay, there's a group activity, I should be aware, I need to be there. So this is sort of accountability on our part as well, because, you know, they would say, hey, everything's online, or if this is an online class, how do I know that she's going to do work or not? So at least we give them this lesson plan. It's for us. It's to save our it's to save us as well, to show that we're actually doing work and we're actually this is your time. That's why I put here total lecture time 50 minutes, so they know that 1 hour, that's how their time will be spread out, and they know that I'm not just taking 30 minutes, or I'm not just taking 20 minutes of a video and that's it. So it will work with secondary students as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. This is a very good idea. Do you think we could share this little template with us?
Sure. We can share it.
So very much.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt your brainstorming session. I think time is up because we need to move on to Prof. Hall's closing remarks. So before we end the session, maybe anyone here would like to share what you have done for your lesson plan. It doesn't matter, it can be recent or upcoming or even in the past. It's okay. Anyone?
Raise your hand. There's no wrong or right. Oh,
no.
We have Devi Rajeswari.
Devi, yes.
Hi.
Hello. All right. I would like to share what I did, but actually this was done when the MCO first started. So because like you had mentioned, you know, I wanted my students to know what they were doing. I didn't want them to feel so lost. And I really felt that scaffolding and guiding them all the way through, giving them an overview of what was going to happen was very important. So this was what I actually came up with. So if you could see, it was dated 18 to 31st March, because at that time we thought that it was just going to be 2 weeks and then everything be back to normal and things like that.
Yeah.
And we had our fingers crossed. So this was kind of what I came up with at that time. Because the thing would on my side was, anyway, I'm from Sunway College JB, by the way, sorry. So we were told on 17 we were going online, and the 18th morning 8 a.m. we were fully online. So
it seems to be
lagging.
Lagging.
Yeah, it's lagging on her end.
And they were doing their...
Devi, your line isn't that clear.
These students are... So this was...
Devi? Yeah.
Devi?
You're breaking up. We can't really hear you.
Moodle...
I think she can't hear us. Devi, I think have to drop a chat message. Hold on.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry, Devi, we couldn't hear you. Yeah, Devi?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Now I can hear you.
It's still breaking.
Yeah, still breaking.
Poor Devi is still breaking.
Devi,
I think we have to move on because it's already 11:28.
But what she had is really elaborate, and you can do it in this way. Hers is really colorful as well. So you can also do it in her manner, how you want to do it. And she has activities. Devi, you're back on.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure if you can hear me.
It's breaking up a lot. but you have a good lesson plan, and it's good. Yeah, you want to tell students what to expect. So that's really good, Dewey. Well done. Thank you, Dewey.
Thank you. Okay, I think we can just wrap up before we move on to Prof Hall's session. Thank you, Davey, for sharing. Sorry about that because it was breaking up much earlier on. So Farhana, can we have the last slide, then we can wrap up what we noticed earlier on. Okay.
And now it's conclusion.
Conclusion. So just to in summary, I think for inclusive classroom, like we mentioned earlier on, we need to consider a lot of factors, and of course the push change will definitely help us to move forward. And here we are to share with you, things that we look into. Let's say the adoption of TEL tools, choosing the right one would be very important. So with this, thank you so much for your participation. I'm sorry, we are sorry that time is so short, but we hope that our sharing session will able to help you with whatever planning you have later on. So any Q&A session? We still have 1 minute actually.
Yeah, we have 1 minute for that.
Persis.
Yes,
Can I
yes.
highlight to all our friends here that actually Naomi gave a link to go to Prof
Yes.
session, I think.
Yes.
Just want to remind.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.